one for you, right?
Yeah. And your timing, right? Your mic's on. Testing. All right.
And a hush fell over the crowd. Hush.
Okay, welcome everyone to the student trustee candidate debate for this year. So before we get started, we're just going to do a brief introduction of all the student trustees. Okay, so we have Felix Nomorovsky. We have Christine Lin. We have Pawasha Ali. And last but not least, we have Kashmia Balabaskaran.
Welcome everyone to the Student Trustee Candidate Live Introductions and Debate. The format for the next 45 minutes or so will be as follows. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. We have two moderators this evening, Nicholas Hamzia, one of our student trustees, and Suraj Bansal, Prime Minister of YRPC. They will ask 3 questions of each candidate, and candidates will have 30 seconds to respond. At the end of this round, the floor will open for 10 minutes. At that time, you, the attendees, can ask questions of the candidates. The candidate has 30 seconds to respond. If the candidate chooses not to respond, the question may be directed to another candidate who will have 30 seconds to respond. If the second candidate chooses not to respond, we just move on to the next audience member. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes for that. So thank you. Let us begin.
Okay, so first off, I'd like to welcome Pawasha Ali for a 2-minute introduction.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I would like to thank all of you for taking the time to come out today. And I would like to also congratulate my fellow nominees because it is indeed an honor to be standing on this platform with you tonight. Hello, my name is Palwasha Ali, and I'm a grade 11 IB student from Alexander Mackenzie High School. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here to be able to share my platform and my ideas with you, hoping to leave you inspired to create change within your schools and your community. Over the past couple of years, I've been lucky enough to have the privilege to meet and connect with students from all walks of life. And I've come to the conclusion that a lot of us have a pretty good idea in respect to the change that needs to occur, whether that's advocating for our student rights or equity and inclusivity, mental health and wellness, or transparency. We have students advocating and championing those issues a lot. And even though we've progressed so far, I still think that we can do some more work towards those issues. For example, continuing to support students who have special needs and those who are new to the country, while also fostering healthy relationships with one another to make sure that any one of us can represent you at the board level and to ensure transparency between you and our school board. As a student trustee candidate, I can also assure you that I will stand up for your opinions and your thoughts, because at the end of the day, all 127,000 of us working together can be a lot stronger than just one. Students come from a multitude of different ideologies, thoughts, and opinions, but just imagine the power that we can have when we collectively think and bring these thoughts to the board. I would also like to continue working towards effective data collection methods to make sure that we are bringing the best ideas to the board and in the most effective way. Also working with different students from the board and collaborating with organizations and councils such as the YRPC and other student-led NGOs. I'd like to thank you so much for coming out again, and thank you for the opportunity to let me come here and speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Kashmia Balabaskaran.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kashmia Balabaskaran, and I'm a grade 11 IB student from Milken Mills High School. I support the board's 4 mandates: mental health and well-being, equity and inclusivity, collaborative relationships, and ethical leadership. But first, I have to prove to you that I put my words to actions. With mental health in mind, I am my school's mindfulness and mental health lead. Also, in 2019, I initiated a mental health campaign called Our Journey to Wellness across 4 cities for a diverse population, in collaboration with culturally sensitive service providers and former counselor and trustee Nathan Sean. I also initiated Mental Health Through the Arts Day at my school to support mental health for elementary school students. When it comes to equity, I work closely with Inclusive School and Community Services, which is the board's equity department. I've co-planned and facilitated the YRDSB Peace Tree Conference and a gender identity and gender stereotypes workshop at the Youth Voice Conference. I was also the co-host of the Tamil Heritage Month opening ceremony at the Markham Civic Center and Queen's Park. And I have been featured in a YRDSB Tamil Heritage video. When it comes to collaborative relationships, I have been a coach and a guest speaker at elementary schools, and I have worked with Family Services for York Region to provide the FAST program, which helps immigrant families adjust to the Canadian lifestyle. I have also worked with Crosby Heights Public School students who have experienced war and family destruction. Further, I have initiated International Youth Day events with board members including 360 Kids, York Region Police, and Addiction Services from York Region. In terms of ethical leadership, it was seen throughout because I worked with the stakeholder groups to create solutions. Now I'm telling you this because I want you to realize that I'm not going to start making a difference in our board, I'm going to continue. My allyship with Inclusive Schools and Community Services and with all the community organizations gives me a head start to implanting our visions to our students and our families. I sincerely hope you see this and support me throughout my journey. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to welcome Christine Lin.
Hello everyone. So it was actually only 4 years ago when I moved to the YRDSB, and I was only a grade 8 little shy, naive little girl. And I was too afraid to express my own opinions and to share my ideas with everyone and to stand up for myself when I was being teased. This is the exact reason why I'm here today, and I want the privilege to represent you as your YRDSB student trustee. My name is Christine Lin, and I'm a grade 11 student at Newmarket High School, and I want to be your next student trustee. So first of all, as the co-founder and chair of my own mental health organization based right here in the York region, I've actually gotten a $750 community grant and have held my own community event, and I have raised the awareness of positive stress coping mechanisms. So I know that it's very important that as a student we go to school and that we have the proper support from our teachers and from our fellow students. This is exactly why I want to make sure that we partner with community organizations such as CMHA and CAMH so that we have more mental health initiatives within our school, such as service dogs and walk-in clinics and breakfast clubs. And it's also very important that we all feel supported and that we all feel welcomed within our school, which is exactly why I want to increase an inclusive and equitable environment within our schools. So I will do this by having more training sessions with staff that they are aware with the various cultures, religions, the various disabilities and sexualities that our students have. Also, I believe that it's very important to be transparent with each and every one of you. I want to make an effort to talk to each and every one of you today face to face because I know it's important to create connections and to understand what you guys want. I will make an anonymous platform on our social media and on our website so that if you want to share ideas with me, I will bring them to the board. Thank you very much.
And last but not least, we have Felix Nomorovsky.
All right, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for attending this YRPC meeting. Before we begin, I have a confession I have to make. Compared to many of you being part of your own student councils, I've been a part of mine for way less. But I've learned about what does it take to be a good member of your student council? What does it take to be a good member of your school community? And that's what I want to address, because it made me a happier person, and it made me enjoy coming to school way more. But do your friends really care about being part of a school community? Some of you might say yes, but it's usually a no. And it's an amazing thing because it's made me so much happier, and it's something that it's crucial. The type of inclusivity I want to talk about is inclusivity in our school communities. And that doesn't mean that I don't care about discrimination. Of course I do. It's a main key, it's a key goal of the school board, and I'll always make sure that it's in our plans. So there are two initiatives I like to start up to make sure that people are part of their school communities. Number one, giving more money to student councils across York Region, even if it's an extra $200. Because I don't know much about communities up in East Gwillimbury, personally. I'm from Maple. But if we could get more students to be engaged in their school communities, they're more likely to come here and be in their school family. And a second thing I'd like to bring up is decreasing the regulations on clubs. Because it could take months, if not years. It took me 2 years to make a club at my school. And clubs are what make us build connections, bonds, friendships that could last a lifetime. These are things that I would like to address as student trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so with the introduction speeches concluded, we will now be moving on to the interview portion of this debate. So we're going to be asking our questions first. So the first question is, which of the 4 sections of the Director's Action Plan is most important to you and why? The first person responding to this question will be Christine Lin.
So I believe that equity and inclusivity is a very important sector that the board is focusing on with their multi-year strategic plan. And this is because we are all so different, and we must cherish and truly acknowledge the differences that we have that make our school board so unique and that make our student body so beautiful and different. So we must cherish and understand the different cultures, religions, disabilities, sexualities that we all have, and make sure that our students and teachers within the board understand this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The second person answering this question will be Felix Nomorovsky.
All right, so for me, it's mainly mental health. And I'm very glad to see that the Minister of Education, Stephen Lecce, put in more money for mental health. Because even when we get more electronics and we have more things that we could do, mental health is still something that plagues our region. So I think that if we could address that, more students will be happier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine and Felix, for your responses. We will now be asking the second question to 2 candidates. The question is, last year, the current student trustees and the Board of Trustees upheld the Canadian Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action by creating positions for an Indigenous student trustee and adult trustee. How do you plan to express your commitment to Indigenous reconciliation? And the first person that we will be asking this question to is Kashmia.
So the Truth and Reconciliation Commission is something that I deeply support. In fact, I've actually visited Beau Soleil First Nation, and I've talked with their band members, their chief, their firefighters, and I've really had the chance to learn about their lifestyle and what we can do to improve it. Currently, I'm proud to say that I'm trying to build a connection with a First Nation school and my school through my equity club. I am the co-president of my equity club, and I have reached out to Mr. Morgan, who is the go-to Indigenous person in the board.
The second candidate that this question will be posed to is Christine Lin.
Okay, so it is very important that we acknowledge the grounds that our very school is built on. Before that, the Canada has been colonized, First Nations were here and have occupied the land. This is why it is so important that we educate students about this fact, about we are standing on First Nations lands right now. And also we can do this by implementing more clubs, having more resources for the Indigenous people at our schools. And also implementing that into our education and into our curriculum.
Thank you, that's time.
Thank you.
We will now be moving on to our third question. As a student trustee, you are tasked with representing the diverse student body of York Region. How do you plan to expand your outreach to the student population beyond the platforms that already exist so that you can ensure equitable representation of all YRDSB students? And the first candidate that will be answering this question is Pawasha.
So in terms of reaching out to the board, I'm currently representing the central region within all of the 4 regions of York Region. And I believe that through building collaborative relationships among all of you in this room and everyone watching the live stream, or all 127,000 students within the board, we can really ensure that we are reaching to all sectors, starting from all the way up in Georgina up until the bottom at Steeles. Thank you.
Thank you. The second person that will be answering this question is Felix.
So if you follow my Instagram account for my campaign, I'll plug it soon, don't worry. All right, what I believe that we could do to get the voice of every single student in York Region is to have an semi-annual survey. So during the exam review day, we could have a survey and we could bring all the students, even if it's 5 seconds, to write down their concerns with their student council and with the board. And this could be very big impact because it'd be anonymous as well. It's something so minor, but could have an amazing impact and really help develop our region.
Thank you, Pawasha and Felix, for your responses. We'll now be moving on to the fourth question of the debate. What is something that you want to accomplish in your term as student trustee, and outline your steps to attain this? The first candidate that will be responding to this question is Kashmia.
So one thing that I really want to work on is building collaborative relationships. This comes back to getting student voice from all parts of the board, but we also have to remember that there are elementary schools in our board too. So I really want to create an online platform to get ideas and input from all students of the board from everywhere. And not only that, I want to include those people in those events, because I know what it's like to give an idea, someone else takes the idea, and then now you have no input, right? And when I give an idea, I want to be part of the process. I want to say how we should
Thank you,
approach
that's time.
this. Thank you.
The next person that we would like to pose this question to is Pawasha.
I think a very effective way that we can handle this question is by reaching and contacting as many students and student councils as we can in all the schools. So to those of you who don't know, we have approximately 180 elementary schools and over 33 secondary schools. Now that's a lot of schools and a lot of people, and it's a very hard task for us individuals to reach them. But through collaborative relationships and through all of the leadership that you are all working towards, we can really achieve getting all student voices and opinions being heard, and that is what I would really stand for if I was elected as a student trustee.
Thank you. Thank you for your responses. We'll now be moving on to the fifth question. As a student trustee, you will have access to a variety of resources and stakeholders, such as the Board of Trustees, YRPC, the Ontario Student Trustees Association, and numerous other board staff and departments. How will you leverage these resources to elevate student voice? The first candidate answering this question will be Felix.
So, of course, there are many different things that we do, like such as being part of YRPC, being part of the board, and the Ontario Student Trustee Association. So I'd like to leverage all these resources and to make sure that York Region gets its share. We are one of the fastest growing communities. East Gwillimbury and King is one of the fastest growing communities in all of Canada. So I want to make sure that we could bring in more resources from the province so that we can make this region the best region in Ontario.
Thank you. The second person that will be answering this question is Kashmia.
So like I said, I'm already working with a lot of the board members, but having access to all of these different board members and committees will allow me to really reach out. So if one committee says I can't do something, I move on to the next. That one doesn't say something, I change an idea, move on to the next. So this really helps us to reach out to different students of the board, from elementary to high school, from north to west to east to central. And I really want to see what each group's purpose is. What do they believe in? What do they support? And then really go to them and collaborate with them.
Final question that we will be asking our student trustee candidates today is, many outlets for student voice and advocacy are only geared towards the secondary student population. How do you plan on expanding these outreach opportunities to include elementary school students? The first candidate that we will be posing this question to is Christine Lin.
So look around you at all the students in this room. We are all from secondary schools, and we are here today at the YRPC General Assembly. I want to have a similar platform for elementary schools, an elementary school student council for the York region, where they will have also monthly meetings where they can all meet and have networking opportunities and opportunities to project what they want at their elementary school. So similar to the secondary school YRPC and also General Assemblies, we will be also implementing this for elementary schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next candidate that we'll be asking this question to is Palwasha Ali.
I think this is an amazing question because, like Christine mentioned, we are all secondary school students. And I remember when I was in elementary school, I wasn't as involved because I didn't see these leaders from secondary school who were coming in and providing us with different workshops about all the 4 pillars of the multi-year strategic plan, or telling us about the resources that exist in secondary school or even in elementary schools as well. And I know many of you, by looking around and seeing all the nodding heads, I know that you agree with me as well. And I've already started working on that by visiting many elementary schools and principals to get their input about how I, as a secondary school...
Thank you, that's time.
Okay, so thank you to the candidates for their responses to those questions. We will now be opening it up to the attendees of the General Assembly, if any of you have any questions for any of the candidates. So please stand up if you have a question and we will bring the microphone to you. All right.
So one question I have is, for example, an international student need to pay $15,000 per year, but sometimes they don't get the required course, which either for the graduating or the post-secondary education. For example, they cannot get an advanced function, so they need to go to summer program or the night school, which will cost them additionally about $1,500. So based on this problem, how you guys can use your variety of resources to solve this kind of issue, or a similar issue that a group that do not have the ability or they are lack of ability to express their idea clearly and effectively. Thank you.
Can you address the question to one candidate, please?
Oh. I think just like who will need to answer this question.
The question must be addressed to someone.
Kashmir.
Okay, Kashmir, you've drawn the short straw.
Right, so I definitely agree with him when he says that not everyone gets these resources. When it comes to course selection, you know that there's a list of priorities that guidance counselors will follow. For example, they'll go to grade 12s because they need to graduate, grade 9s because they're coming in. With this, we don't pay for our education. I mean, we pay taxes, but not directly. I know personally that it's very hard for an international student to access these resources, so I wanna make sure that they're also at the top, also at the priorities. And this goes again with changing the wordings and changing the board policies and reviewing it as the student
Thank
body
you.
to say
That's time.
who needs what.
Thank you. Okay, we have our second question, and we're just going to ask that if you do ask a question, introduce your name and your school and address it to one of the candidates.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sabrina. I'm from Bayview Secondary School, just here in Richmond Hill. My question is direct to you. I'm really sorry, but I don't remember your name, and I mean nothing against it. To the very left, sorry. Felix, right?
Oh.
Sorry, it's been a long day, and I have a test tomorrow. We're trying to pull through here, okay? So Felix, I read on your Instagram, I actually did check it out. I did read on your Instagram that you are really in supportive of the French immersion schools. As for population of French immersion schools, I mean, absolutely no offense. I know you do come from one yourself. There are only 8 French immersion schools in YRDSB as secondary schools. And as well, we do have a variety of resources within our schools, such as one-on-one volunteering and extracurriculars. How might your French immersion program really contribute to these already large variety and massive resources, as we do have already a great supply of them and not as much of a demand as before, as a lot of students don't feel as French will get them where they need to be with computer science, lawyers, and a lot of other jobs kind of pulling through in the industry. So how might your plan really contribute towards what we want, and how can it really contribute in making sure that French can, I guess, stay relevant, as I think that's what your really goal is. Okay.
All right. All right, so you said that there's only 8 French immersion high schools in York region, but that's still a lot of students. Like, I have to take 2 buses to get to my French immersion high school. I live in Maple, near near Vaughan City Hall. I forgot where I lived. Near Vaughan City Hall, and I have to take 2 buses. But for the action that I want to put in for French immersion students, it's not just French immersion, actually, it's for everyone.
5 seconds.
It's because, oh my God, it's because I see a lot of problems that students that do French immersion, they don't understand.
That's time.
French people.
Okay, so I'll give them. So I'll give them a.
Okay, we're going to be moving on with our questions.
Hi, my name's Aiden. I'm from Unionville High. My question is directed to Felix. You did mention about mental health during your introduction speech. However, what is your take on the other main pillars of YRDSB? For example, inclusivity, sexuality, as that is also a big part of the community, and that does affect. It's tied into mental health. But like, how would you place that in terms of within ranking, how it kind of. How is it important to you, let's just say?
Well, it's really hard to rank all these things because they're all really, really important things. So I don't want to, it's going to be really hard for me to rank all of them. But mental health isn't far away from first. All of them should be first. All the candidates here all care about mental health and the 4 main pillars. Personally, I'm sorry I can't answer your question about the ranking, but I want to make sure that I will do 100% of the effort required to accomplish all these 4 steps. Thank you.
Oh. I was going to give 15-second warning.
Okay. Hi, I'm Janice. I'm a grade 12 student at Thornhill Secondary School. And my question is, as a YRDSB student, I'm sure all of you have been exposed to prevalent issues that we as students face, not from the perspective of guidance or our admin or teachers, but purely from the student perspective. So I want to know, which issue do you think needs the most attention, and that you'll focus on moving in if you were to be voted into as student trustee. And this question is for, wait, hold on, I know it. Pawasha, yes, that's for you.
Thank you so much for the question. For me personally, I think equity and inclusivity is something that is very, very important, not only within the 4 pillars, but also for our whole school board. Because all of you, just looking around the room, we're all from so many different diverse backgrounds, and we have so many different experiences that we can bring to the table. So to make sure that we are addressing all types of students, whether that's elementary students, secondary students, international students, anyone, and making sure that everyone's needs are being heard at the board level to ensure any change at all. Thank you.
Yep. Next question.
Hi, my name is Will. I'm from Alexander Mackenzie High School. So my question is, the YRDSB is a very diverse school board. This question is for Felix. How are you going to be able to represent all the different voices and different ethnic groups in the YRDSB?
Thank you.
All right. So you state like all the ethnic groups, and we all have different opinions on different things because of our ethnic groups. But I'd assume that all of us are just York Region District School Board students. Every single voice matters, and every single ethnicity matters. I ran my own national political club, and it ranged from views from the not far right, but from the right, from the left. So I understand, like,
15
I'd like
seconds.
to address everyone's issues, and I'll make sure that everyone's voice, whether you're Asian or white or male, female, or non-binary, I'll make sure that your voice is
Thank
heard.
you, that's time.
Thank you. Oh, okay, we're gonna have another question.
Okay, I don't mean to put any of you on the hot seat, by the way. These are just genuine questions that I have, because if you are representing me, obviously I'd want to have an understanding. So again, my name's Sabrina. I'm in grade 10. I'm at Bayview, obviously. And my question is for Christine. So I know all the candidates today have talked a lot about mental health and its importance, and especially within, I guess, this new developing group of teens, we see a lot more mental health issues and need to address this, as it wasn't done in the past. Each of you have mentioned that you are going to combat mental health, which is amazing, but what makes your mental health plan unique? So this is specifically for Christine.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, for that question. So I actually think it's very important that every teacher at our school is educated on the fundamental knowledge of mental well-being and health, so that they can better support us in our classroom environments. For example, having meditation periods and craft periods to de-stress, and also to keep in mind due dates and when they fall according to the schedule, right? And I also think it's very important to have more supportive staff in our schools, like counselors and professionals that are able to manage these problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we have one more question.
Hi, I'm Zara. I'm a grade 11 student. This question is directed towards Pawasha. I was wondering, what experience do you think you have that would help support your candidacy as student trustee, or help you be a good student trustee?
Thank you so much for the question. When it comes down to experiences, I know we've all mentioned a lot of experiences that we have, but one of the biggest experiences that I have had is when I got the opportunity to present in front of international educators about the importance of equity within Indigenous groups and within all of our secondary schools. Also recently, I was given the opportunity to go to Forum for Young Canadians, where I got to make a speech in the Parliament about equity and inclusivity. So I can guarantee you that through my ample amount of experience, I will try my best to hear your voices and amplify them to the best of my abilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy, folks. Harry Chung, Markville Secondary School. So my question is directed towards Pawasha. Sorry, you're famous. So obviously, I think we can all agree that student voice is extremely important for functioning student government. However, from what everyone has been hearing, there is a growing satisfaction due to recent events from both students and teachers over the lack of both fair voice and representation on not only a board scale, but our province. So which leads me to my question, as student trustee of the YRDSB, how will you defend the educational interests of students, teachers, and the board on a provincial level?
Thank you so much for the amazing question. I think that the biggest way that we can, or I can handle that as a trustee or student trustee, is to be transparent with students. Because right now is a tough time for all of us with the political events that you've been mentioning. And I think being transparent with you and having that collaborative relationship between you and the school board will ensure us that we can help answer any questions any student has and make sure that all of you are educated about what is happening in terms of your education, because this really means a lot for your future.
15 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, stand up. First person to stand up gets the mic.
Okay, I'm Gareth Smith. Do we say grade? I'm grade 11, Newmarket High School. My question's for Christine. So you mentioned something about elementary school students. So I was wondering sort of just if you could clarify a little bit more on that. So are you looking for something like a STUCO or like a YRPC for the elementary students? Just sort of if you could clarify your platform view.
So yes, I was talking about a YRPC sort of council where elementary students from the entire board can actually gather around and share their thoughts about ways that we can implement change in their elementary schools, because we have such an amazing community here where we have people from all different secondary schools come and share their ideas and voice their opinions for changes at their secondary schools that they can implement. I think it's so important to have that same community and support for elementary students as well, because there are actually more elementary school students compared to secondary school students. So we really need to consider them, as well as because they're so young and we need to foster them to grow into the bright individuals that they will be in the future.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maria. I'm from Stephen Lewis, and I'm grade 11 student. And basically, my question was directed to Kashmia. Sorry if I mispronounced it. How will you raise the spirit level at our region? Because it's something that is also important to maintain and raise in our region. Yeah, how would you do that?
Okay, so thank you for your question. This is actually something I was going to touch on in my outro speech. But one thing I've realized is that leaders are not just the people in this room. Leaders aren't just the ones that go for SAC elections. There are leaders on the court. There are leaders who are captains of their sports teams, leaders who lead the art room, leaders who dance and sing, right? So those are the students that we also have to include, because they're the ones whose voices we're not hearing. So for things like that, I want to do things across the board. For example, an art battle across the school, across the board, or sports teams from like East versus West or North versus Central, like that kind of thing, right? To really get all students from all different backgrounds and all different passions involved in our schools and within our student body.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask that everyone that does have a question stand up and remain standing because we're running a bit short on time.
Hi guys, my name is Jerry. I'm a grade 12 student from the school, Richmond Hill High School. So my question is for Christine. So I remember you talking about an online platform to collect student voice from many students. And it's a similar goal that our student council, I'm sure many of other schools has been trying to work on. But the primary challenge that we're facing is that many students are not incentivized to provide their input, or they don't feel the importance of sending the suggestion to a higher level. And in my personal experience, a lot of people who are sending in suggestions or putting in their input are the most active members in the community, are most likely to have their voice heard. So my question is mainly, how would you address people who are not as active as those members, and how would you provide, I guess, incentive for other members in our community to speak up and to put in their suggestions? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Jerry, for that question. So this is exactly why I want to implement an anonymous forum where students who may not feel comfortable coming to speak face-to-face or maybe on social media can project their opinions. So actually this ensures confidentiality as well, and it makes sure that they're confident in sharing their ideas. They don't need to share their grade or their name or what school they come from. And also, I think it's very important to truly have more networking opportunities here, as we are all leaders from our own schools, and this way we can actually share
15
more ideas here and bring those ideas back to their schools. So yes, anonymous forum would be very important, and also I think a survey actually would be very effective in collecting ideas. This
Thank
is
you.
also
That's time.
confident.
Hi, my name is Annie, and I'm from Thornhill Hill Secondary School. My question is also about listening to student voice as one of the major tasks student trustees should to finish. As we all know, there are lots of students here from different school, even secondary school or elementary school. I want to listen more details or specific action you would like to take to ensure that you could listen to student voice, identify the different issues happening, and to report it back to the board. So my question is for Pawosha.
Thank you so much for your question. I think that it's extremely important that we realize that listening to a concern and actually taking action on it can be very different. And I can't assure you that I will always be able to solve your problem, but I can guarantee you that I will keep my ears open to listen to each and every one of you in this room and everyone else within our board as well. Because listening is the first step. And then from there, I will try my best to bring it up to the board in meetings, in different, within board meetings or provincial meetings, and in any way possible that I can. Also making sure that I get your input on not only what the issue is, but making sure that you might have an idea about how we can solve this together collectively as a powerful student body. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Abby and I'm from Tommy Douglas Secondary School. So this question is directed at Kashmia. So I was wondering, I know a lot of our students, even at Tommy Douglas, we have students who have strong opinions and wish to kind of raise their voice and talk with student council. However, they are a bit too scared or intimidated by our council, and they usually don't raise their voice. So how do you plan on provoking and sort of marketing student voice? And other than possible surveys and whatnot, how else do you plan on asking students and representing their voice as part of student trustee?
So thank you for that question once again. As I mentioned before, I would like to create an online platform for students to give in their ideas. So not only does this allow them to be anonymous in case they don't want someone to reach out to them or they don't want to be involved with the ongoing process, but I also want to make sure that if they do want to collaborate with the trustees and they do want to be involved in their events and any processes that they want to take forward, they should have that opportunity. And like I said, if I do choose that event is something that we'll take upon, I will maintain connections and I will get them to come in. And something else I want to do is address to students of all economic statuses too. So some students don't have access to computers and whatnot, so we would do something like site visits, have posters for awareness.
Thank you, that's time.
And really address everyone. Thank you.
So we will be taking the remainder of the questions that are standing up. However, we ask that no one new stands up due to time constraints. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fatima. I'm in grade 11. My question's for Pawasha. So equity and inclusivity is a bit of an overused topic. So what do you plan on doing about it that's different?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. I agree with you when you say that, we've heard about equity and inclusivity a lot, and collaborative relationships, we've heard about it a lot. And I understand that you may want to hear different action, but let me tell you a quick analogy. You think of Romeo and Juliet, right? How many of you have read it here? It's been so long, right, since it's been written, but it's a Shakespearean classic, and it's so important to literature. Just like that, equity and inclusivity is such an important pillar within our board, and we can never stop working towards it because there will always be room to not only take actions towards issues that haven't been addressed, but also make sure that we are empowering and enhancing the current policies that are there. Thank you.
Okay, so very good job from all four of you today. But that being said, as this works, two of you guys are going to lose. So my question, My question is, it's a very general question, but I think that it'd be interesting to hear. If you are to lose, tell us about what you are still going to do to help York Region District School Board. And
Can you address the question to one candidate, please?
yes, I will address the question to the beautiful Christine Lin.
Oh!
Thank you so much for your question. So if you actually know me, I'm actually very involved in my community. I'm in external affairs on my school student council, and last year I was actually the advertising director on that very same team. I'm also the president in training for a health organization called PUMP, Prospective Medical Professionals. And we're actually holding a student STEM fair this weekend. About 300 students will come in and learn about the various opportunities that they can actually get involved in. So
15 seconds.
I'm also the co-founder and chair of BrainSpace, which is a mental health organization. As you can see, I'm truly involved and I care about everyone in our community, whether it be mental health or getting volunteer opportunities or even little
Thank you,
initiatives
that's
within
time.
our school, such as student council. Thank you.
I'm Kevin from Thornley Secondary School in grade 12. So this question is for Felix. I'm just asking, what do you think your best asset is for your role if you were to be elected as a student trustee?
So what I believe my best asset I have is I frequently contact many politicians. And these are the politicians that deal with our Ministry of Education, that deal with basically how we live our lives. I believe that's the main thing I could provide, contact with them. And I've volunteered with many of them with all three main parties, even a fourth one. So I believe my main one is I will always contact them and they know me well and they'll listen to me.
One, two, 1, 2. All right. Hey, I'm Sam from Thornley Secondary School. I'm in grade 12. Yo, stop it. So I'm sure that all four of you guys can represent everyone that's here today because, we decided to show up and we support the system and we believe in it. But for all the kids that, don't really think that doing like anything with student council works or even matters, they just want to come in, graduate, and leave, what are you going to do to help them? Because that's a way bigger portion of our population than us.
Oh, address it to one person, please. Felix.
All right, so as you heard in my introduction, what I wanted to do is bring more money to the student councils of each high school. And I understand some of you might think that's not possible, it's not realistic, and I understand your concerns. However, even the slightest bit, even $200, when students see that their student council is engaged and working for them, they will want to join it and make an impact as well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zara again. This is a question directed towards Felix about providing $200 to the student councils to all schools across the board. There are, I'm pretty sure, around there's 33 high schools and around 80-something elementary schools in this board. Where would you get the resources to provide that kind of funding?
I like the answer that I just heard. But mainly what I believe that we could do is, I don't want to sound a lot like Doug Ford here, but I think we could cut spending in some places. I know, but student council is something very special that I hope that we hold dear to our hearts. Because student council's main job is to support students from that high school. And if every single high school could do their part, more students will come here and address their issues. I know it sounds, very difficult to bring, 33 schools, $200.
15 seconds.
But I'm trying to say that any sort of amount of support to student councils will be beneficial to really bring up our student voices. Thank you.
So I'm Janice, and I've been on the YRPC for 3 years, and I've also been involved as a grade 9 representative for 4. And I've noticed that a recurring pattern throughout all the years is that we lack representation from the north, from schools such as Huron Heights, King City, all those schools that are located in the far corners of the north. We never see them at our general assemblies like this. Even now, we don't have any representatives. So I want to know, especially for one of our, I don't recognize her face because I've never seen her at a GA, or maybe I just have bad memory, but I want to know what you would do to bring that representation down and what you think you could bring to the table as a student trustee. Yes, it's for, yes, her.
Okay, so this goes back to, again, like what I said, elevating student voice. So I appreciate that question because this was actually asked in my interview, was awareness, right? Because maybe those students, maybe it's not that they don't want to come, but maybe they don't know about something like this. Because from my school, from what I knew, it was representatives of our student council that went to the YRPC meetings, and I never knew that a general member or a random person in the board can go until I was doing my interview for this position. So I think it really comes down to awareness. Another thing we have to think
15
about
seconds.
is location. So maybe those students just can't come down here. Maybe they don't have the resources. Maybe their parents are having a financial struggle. So maybe we go to them, right? If they can't come to us, the support has got to go to them. So maybe next time we choose a different location there.
Thank you.
Or maybe
That's
we
time.
have different meetings in different areas. Thank you.
And this will be the last question that we're taking.
My name's Aiden again, from Unionville again. This one's directed to Christine. As a member of my arts program at school, we've seen a lot of budget cuts and a lot of other difficulties. And it's not just the arts program, it's like other programs, athletics, just like, and specialized programs. How would you like kind of combat that or like help or ensure that even with the budget cuts, the quality of the program isn't decreasing like in a big way? Like how would you kind of address that? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for this question. I've noticed that this has been a huge problem because the province only gives us a certain amount of money to work with. Actually, the YRDSB has been investing $1.4 billion for the past year into various programs, but we don't know where that money actually goes. What if $1 million goes to investing into cleaning our windows that we don't necessarily need all the time? We can invest and allocate those funds into the programs and the resources that you actually need. Maybe more equipment for those sports teams, or more paint for your art class, or to paint posters after school. These are all important areas that we must also consider, and we have to, I want to create a clear, transparent budget to see where all the money is being allocated to and to find areas that we can get that money from and put them into areas that are actually important to us.
Okay, we'd like to thank the audience for their questions. If you guys do have any further concerns or questions that you would like to have addressed, you may find the candidates at a later time. We will now be moving on to our concluding speeches. First up is Felix Nomorowski.
All right. So we heard everyone speak here about what they're wanting to do, and all of our candidates here are amazing. So I'd like a round of applause for them as well. They're amazing. So I need to convince you right now in 2 minutes why you should vote for me for student trustee. That's a very short amount of time. As Anish Agnihotri said from last year, that's 120 seconds, or less than a second for every 1,000 students in York Region. So what I wanted to do to make sure that your voice is heard, it's plug time. Follow me at Vote for Felix Trust, yes. So you understand all my policies and everything. And if you might have some questions that you're too nervous of, or since we don't have enough time, right? And if not there, if you don't even have an Instagram or internet yeah, we're going that far. You could contact me at my phone number here, 647-73, yeah, yes. But even for people that attend my school and my friends here, I'd like to make sure that you guys keep an open mind, because many of us have different objectives, and I want all of you guys to not just vote for who you like the most, but who has your similar values. So To conclude, I'd like to end off with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. Great thoughts speak to great minds, but actions speak all to mankind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Felix, for your words. We would now like to invite the North candidate, Christine Lin, for her speech.
So it was actually just yesterday when I spoke to the equity representative teacher at my school. If you don't know, there's one at each and every one of your schools. And we talked about how the board is always taking these small steps, a good start, such as training for staff and conferences to train staff. But we don't really take action after we do these things. I think it's so important to really implement small step-by-step initiatives and campaigns to truly drive actual measurable change within our schools. So like I've explained, I truly want to train staff. I want to implement more surveys. I want to put more funding into areas that are actually important for our success. These are all realistic small steps that we can achieve together. So with that being said, I also want to congratulate every one of these candidates, my fellow candidates. I've never met such a bright and passionate group of individuals. But also I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. Look at where you are, the steps that you took to really educate yourself and make an informed choice. I want to congratulate you, and I want to say that you are the reason why I wake up every day and I'm motivated to really run. And I also really want to thank you guys and say that your passion for advocacy, your passion for voice, and your bright ideas, they are what make this YRDSB 127,000 students strong. And I want you to know that it is your voice and it's also your choice. So I want us to trust in one another and really make connections for a brighter YRDSB for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Next up, Kashmia Balabaskaran.
Thank you for saying my name right. All right, I'd like to end off the evening by saying vote for student success. I want to help students from all groups, and I really want to break down the isms. Students should get the support no matter their age, their gender identity, sexual orientation, racial background, economic status, physical abilities, and the list goes on. I also want to bring light to those leaders who aren't just STEM students. Students or leaders on the court, leaders who paint, leaders who sing, leaders who aren't on their mainstream pathway. I also want to hear every student's ideas and their input through an online platform. I don't want any student feel left out or feel unimportant because I know how it feels to have an idea and not have it heard. I also want to build a collaborative relationship within the student body, and I really want students to work together to improve their schools by creating something like a YRDSB equity committee or student-led conferences. I want you to know that I have been a victim of bullying. I've had a broken ankle, I'm a girl, and I face challenges. But I've always had allies with power and privilege who have held me and supported me. But I know that not everyone here or not everyone in our board is fortunate enough to have those same resources, which is why I want to create that environment for them. I really want to build a strong relationship within the student body to serve the different narratives to serve our community by making our schools community hubs for families, creating a peer tutoring program, and getting board-wide sports teams. Further, I would like to acknowledge the leaders within our board by creating something like a YRDSB Student Trustee Equity Award. Lastly, I want you to know that I'm open-minded and accepting of everyone's ideas. I really want to say that in 2 minutes, you can't get to know me. So I really encourage you to come. I really encourage you to come speak to me in person or through my Instagram. I want to end by saying I really do hope I get this position as student trustee because I really want to give back to the community that raised me and gave me my identity. My name is Kashmia. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Pawasha Ali.
So to end off, I want to let you know that being a student trustee isn't just about being a leader, but it's about empowering everyone else to become agents of change as well. Every elementary school and secondary school student in our board, in our province, and in our whole world deserves the equal opportunity to have a meaningful experience within their school time. And I want you to know that you can engage your voice in leadership. Now, if you just take a look around the board, or even look at the person who's sitting next to you, what do you see? I see a diverse group of individuals and student leaders who are here today representing their different schools with different perspectives, a variety of experiences, and so many different things that they can bring to the table, which we can uplift at the board level. I want to end off by leaving you with a thought. A wise scientist who you may or may not know, he went by the name of Albert Einstein. He once said that students are not just a container you have to fill, but they're a torch you have to light. There is a spark in every single one of you and every single student within our board, and it is our job to ignite it as student leaders. That spark, and just think about how important and how empowered we can get if we all work together and build collaborative relationships. If I would get selected as a student trustee or voted in as student trustee, I would make sure that we continue to foster the issues and mental health talks and just conversations and relationships that we have right now, and to create more to make sure that we are being able to make sure that we are able to represent your voice properly and efficiently at the school board. And remember that go home tonight. Think about everything that we just said today. Think about which values line up with your values the most, and think about which initiatives that we mentioned today are actually realistic in the term of 1 year. I want to thank you all again for coming out tonight, because it means a lot to each and every one of us. Thank you.
Okay, let's get one more round of applause for our 4 student trustee candidates. Okay, so now that you've got a chance to hear them speak and to hear their platforms, now is going to be the time to vote pretty soon. So from February 21st to 26th, you will have your opportunity to cast your vote if you're between grades 5 and 11. That being said, we'd like to thank everyone for coming out to the GA, and good night.